Listen to the unofficial voice of World Cup 2006, brought to you by Times Online and Avalon in association with the Dodge Caliber.
All right, then we're in Germany.
Yeah,
Dave.
we're here in Germany.
At last, we have landed.
Yeah, when Wayne Rooney, as it now seems that he might gets to play, no one is going to tread really hard on his foot.
Well, yeah. I mean, I haven't really read it. I just saw a picture of him smiling, which I presume meant he was going to play. But so I understand it. They're not really sure. They're still a bit unsure about how well it's healing. But the thing is, he can play for England, and Man United are really, really livid.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of a double whammy, isn't it?
It's perfect, isn't it?
It couldn't be any better.
It's absolutely brilliant. Actually, I read about it in a newspaper, which is famous for misprints. And there was quite a strange little bit where apparently he went to the clinic and there was a fire alarm at the clinic,
right.
Which is quite worrying anyway. But they actually described it in this newspaper.
Hold on, there was a fire alarm. You mean a fire alarm that went off?
Yeah, a fire alarm that went off at the clinic.
Right.
But they described that in this newspaper as a... I'm going to have to find it, actually.
Well, I like the sound of rustling newspaper.
They described it in this paper as a fire alarm. And what I think this is, and I'll be interested in your views on this, is whether the writer, it's not a misprint, the writer is doing a Freudian slip. And because it's about the FA, he's thinking about Fire Alarm. And he's actually confused fire alarm and Fire Alarm, because of course that caused an alarm at the FA as well.
Yes. It's certainly what if you said at the clinic.
Well, that must be what was happening, I think. No wonder he came out smiling.
I think to be fair to Alex Ferguson, which I'm not that inclined to be, but to be fair to him, I think that Sven has taken on a kind of... You know when people are leaving a company and they phone the speaking clock in Tokyo on their last day and leave it on all weekend?
I've never known about that, but it sounds like a good idea.
You do it as a ruse and it costs the company a load of money on the phone bill. I think he's kind of got a bit like that with his squad and all that. And I think if we got to a game we were losing, he would put Rooney on. If he thought, well, this is my last England game anyway, it doesn't matter, I think he'd put him on crutches, because what's he got to lose?
I said in this panel show that I was on that I think he would be healing quickly because he's 90% monkey. And obviously it was a joke, but I sort of vaguely believe that Rooney's speed of healing is partly to do with the fact that he's virtually an animal. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean, though? He is. You remember that picture of him coming out of the sea with his family?
Yeah.
And they did look like the missing link to some extent.
Right. But monkeys didn't come out the sea, did they? I think you do get to see monkeys. They used to be advertised in Superman.
Yeah, I had one actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I had a sea monkey, and they're the rubbish pets, the rubbishest pets you could have. They're basically specks of dust.
Right.
You put them in water.
We all are, though.
I know, but you put them in water and they grow into
monkeys.
Floating specks of dust.
Oh,
that's
right.
what they basically
so what's
do.
the monkey element involved?
I think that's just to get kids to buy them, because kids think they're going to get a monkey and they just get a floating speck of dust.
Actually, speaking of Sven, have you noticed this thing that, according to him, we're not in the World Cup at all, we're in the World Cup?
That's your Sven impression, is
No,
basically.
but that's what he does, though.
Yeah.
He says World Cup. It's always like the emphasis is in the wrong place.
Yeah, but you do that, actually. We're not on World Cup, but we're with Steven Gerrard. You're the only bloke I know who says Steven Gerrard. Which makes him sound a bit puffy, I think, which he definitely isn't.
I think it's based on when I was a kid, there was a famous racehorse called Brigadier Gerard.
Yeah.
And I imagine he's a relative.
But what it reminds me of is Larry Grayson used to have a friend called Everard.
Everard,
And it sounds to me like Stephen Everard, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Have you seen this? Talking of Stephen Gerrard, have you seen this story?
Don't like your cup of tea, Howard, for God's sake.
Have you seen this story that was in one of the papers, which is about a young England fan, 6-year-old, who won a competition, with McDonald's.
Oh, yeah, the McDonald's kid.
And he thought he was going to be an England mascot and he was going to lead the England team out. Unfortunately, it turns out that McDonald's didn't really think about that, and he's the German mascot. An English little boy is going to be the German mascot.
Interesting. He looks a little bit like Boris Becker.
He does look a bit like Boris Becker, and of course Boris Becker has had a lot of children.
Well,
I don't think it's one of his.
No.
There's a bit here where it says his father, Simon Harris, 42, a rag and bone man. Oh, hang on, he's a rag and bone man. I think you better read out the quote, actually.
His father is a rag and
If he's a rag and bone man, that should be you, I think.
Okay, right.
He's only 6 and hasn't sunk in yet, Harold. He still thinks the England team will somehow materialise. His favourite player is Steven Gerrard.
Oh, it's Gerrard, not Gerard.
Don't pull me up with my pronunciation, Harold. I'm an old man.
Hang on a sec. What else does it say? What else does it say?
It's the poor kid, though.
It's Louis. His name is Louis from Gateshead Thailandware. He said, I would have liked an England game. Actually, we're talking here about the son of the Rag and Bone Man, aren't we? So you may as well read that bit out as well.
So the son of the Rag and Bone Man, where is it? He would have said, I would have liked an England game because I don't know any of the German players. You tatty old man. I have been telling everyone, etc., etc., etc.
You dirty little bleeder.
So we had a lovely flight, didn't we, over here to here in Munich.
You know, before, I don't think I told you this, when I was picked up in the morning, it was a driver we've had a few times called Dell.
Oh, I know Dell.
Yeah, and he was saying, so you're off to Germany. And he said, oh, he said, my dad used to live in Germany. I said, oh, did he really? He said, yeah, he was a POW. I wouldn't say that was...
No, is that living?
Live in Germany.
Living in Germany.
And then he told me a few...
What kind of life is that?
I know, yeah. But, so that was nice. But so we got to the airport, but then there was a very weird bit, because we were sitting in the lounge, and then a voice came over the Tannoy system, and said, thank you very much for observing that 2-minute silence.
Yeah. Now, that was really terrible, because what they hadn't done was announce the beginning of the 2-minute silence. They just said at the end of it, thank you for observing it. Now, we, as a result, had not observed it, had just been chatting all the way through it. We looked around, everyone else looked a bit embarrassed and upset. We asked some of the lounge staff, none of them knew what it was about.
No, it was... I mean, I'd quite like to find out. I mean, obviously it'll be a sad story. But...
Well, it will be a sad story, but I think it's a 2-minute silence. It's a long silence. You know, like at football grounds, if George Best dies or whatever, there's a 1-minute silence. The only time I know there's been a 2-minute silence in this country is when Princess Diana died.
Oh, no, we've had 70 or 80 minutes of silence at the Albion many a time. Also, when it said the 2-minute silence is now over, my instinct was to go, yeah, come on!
Yeah. I was listening for distant building work throughout it and mobile phones going off.
But why do people do that at football matches? At the end of the 2-minute silence, everybody goes, come on!
Oh, I think that's brilliant. I love that when that happens, because I think there's a sense in which it's the triumph of life over death when people do that.
Well, it got me a few stares on Remembrance Sunday, I can tell you that.
But if anyone is listening and they know why there might have been a 2-minute silence at Heathrow Airport on
Monday the 7th,
whenever it was,
yeah. 7th.
Can you email us? You'll know our email already, or you can phone us on, what's the phone number?
Oh, we don't have a phone number.
But Pete Roach, our producer, he'll know it.
I bet he doesn't.
I bet I do.
What is it, Pete?
The number is 0870 6260 413.
Okay, so phone us if you know the answer to that, or indeed if you want to say anything to us. Phone it, and your voice could be on the next podcast.
Yeah, your voice will be on. We won't just read it out. We'll play you.
I'll tell you whose voice you are about to hear, though, which was very exciting for me and Frank. Is who should we meet on the aeroplane over but Mr. David Pleat?
Yeah, that was great.
I've said Mr. David Pleat, like people say Mr. James Brown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, it was exciting.
Or Miss Whitney Houston.
Yeah, exactly. But well, here he is. Here we are on the flight to Munich, and who should we bump into but Mr. David Pleat? Hello, David.
Hi, David. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And have you brought the beige suit to run on if England score?
I have indeed. It's in the case, and I'll allow you to inspect it before we get through the customs. Watch the fleas.
Yeah.
So, David, you must have heard about these new referee directives, the FIFA directives.
Yes.
What do you make of those?
Well, very interesting, because